Welcome back, and you're still with Nile Cruise on Nile TV, and we are with our cinema critic for today, Hala Mawi, and still talking about the 7th edition of the Panorama of the European Film. Hala, now if you can tell us exactly what is the 7th edition of the Panorama of the European Film, and what are your observations about this year's edition? Is it any different from the previous years?
Well, I have to say that I started following the Panorama of the European Film since 2010.
Mm-hmm. 4 years ago.
Yes, so it was 5 years ago of that, or 4 years ago, yes, about 5 years ago. So every year there's a very special selection of European films. And since 2 years, I think, 2 years ago, the organizers started introducing, for example, films from Iran, which are co-produced with European films, but they are Iranian and they are Turkish, you know. So there's a very big diversification there's a big variety of films in the European.
And you do actually see a significant difference every year.
But this year it's really significantly different because there's a very important theme tackled in all the films, almost in all, which is about immigration. The problems about immigrants and whether they didn't yet attend, I mean, or reach their...
Is that especially related only to the Swiss movies or all over the whole edition?
No, even other movies, yes.
I think it's obvious across, the European region and also in the United States. It's like a hot topic today about immigration.
It's a very
the
hot
laws
topic,
is going to be changed by the administration.
Well, perhaps cinema could change something. I mean, it draws the attention of the international community that there is a big problem and you have to solve it by cinema, by the pictures. This is why cinema is there, to solve also problems.
Perhaps there's also this sort of confusion because the Panorama of European Film Festival comes right after the Cairo International Film Festival.
This is the very first time it happens.
Yes.
It's not always the case.
Yeah, I mean, this year there has been this confusion of, is it like, some sort of an extension to a film festival?
Yes.
And why is it separated from the Cairo International Film Festival?
Well, I'm amazed to know that there was a kind of confusion because when the Cairo Film Festival was cancelled last year, the Panorama of the European Film was held.
Yes.
When it was the year before, it was
cancelled 2-3 years since Revolution, the Cairo Film Festival.
Yes, well, it has been, and the Panorama was held.
Yes.
So there has nothing to do with the Panorama and the Cairo Film Festival. Even if Marianne Khoury, the president of the Panorama, was in 2012, as far as I remember, she was the artistic director of the Cairo International Film Festival. But that was another issue. But it's not an extension to the Cairo Film Festival.
Something totally different.
Yes, it's totally different.
So we have the Luxor Film Festival. We have a couple of film festivals in Alexandria also. Don't you think, because you're a cinema critic, you would know this better. Is it about the frequency or the number of film festivals, or is it about the weight of one film festival, international film festival, that could grab the attention of the entire world?
Well, the weight of one big film festival is
surely
for sure very important, but having a lot of film festivals in different cities in Egypt is very, very important. So this is a way of democratizing or giving this democratic aspect of cinema.
And culture.
Cinema, yes, culture. Cinema is for everyone.
In different cities for everyone.
Just having one big film festival in Cairo, in the capital, this is not really a good idea for a big country like Egypt.
Yes.
And the Panorama of the European Film, is it co-funded by the European Union?
Yes.
And why, if you can tell us as well, Hala, why did the EU take on such a mission in particular?
Well, I think that
funding.
they have a lot of missions. They have a cultural section, and that's what they say all the time. They say we are very interested in showing our culture.
So,
I mean,
do they do this in every country, or do they pick particular countries where they actually hold this film festival, or?
no, the panorama of the European film in Egypt, it's only in Egypt.
Okay.
Perhaps in Morocco they
No,
would
but I
have
mean the
another
European
kind.
Union. Do they also do that in various countries in funding a European?
I think so. I think so. I'm not really. I can't answer for
Because
them.
this one is funded by the EU, as far
Yes,
as I know.
it's
So I was wondering if they
up to
actually do this.
40% of the budget
Oh, okay.
comes
Not
from the
bad.
EU. So it's funded. It's co-funded by the EU, and well, the responsibles of the EU delegation here in Cairo during the press conferences and the meetings and all this, they always say that we want to show our culture, the European culture to Egyptians, and we want them to know that we have also problems, but perhaps different problems.
Different kinds of problems.
We have other big issues to tackle.
That we
perhaps,
want to highlight
yes,
and actually showcase.
yes. So we could know better what we call l'autre or the other. I mean,
The other.
So let's speak about the content so far. What did catch your attention? And as a cinema critic, what was really glamorous movies that or films that you can share with us?
well, I was very happy, for example, to see in this edition Wim Wenders, films by Wim Wenders, The Salt of Earth. It's a wonderful film. It won a prize, the jury prize in Cannes this year, and it's a very special film. It combines photography and cinema as well. So it's this encounter between a big cinematographer and a big photographer, Salgado and Wim Wenders. Together they're making this film, and it's a very good one. Another thing that caught my attention is the classics. The classic section is very, very important. In this classics, we can see two films by Pierre Etex. Pierre Etex, well, he used to be a clown. He used to be a filmmaker.
That's interesting.
Yes, cinematographer, a film director, filmmaker, but his films were hidden for 20 years because of a legal dispute concerning copyrights.
Okay.
And it had been solved only in 2010. So 20 years, no one could see his films, and since 2010, his films had been, Le Grand Amour, or The Great Love, which is screened in this panorama, had been premiered at Cannes in 2010 for the first time. So people are discovering, two generations, we can say, are discovering now Pierre Etex. So this is very important.
That's very important. That's a very interesting point as well.
So this year the panorama focused on the Swiss cinema. What characterizes the Swiss cinema?
What I saw this year, what really characterized the Swiss cinema is that they invite people from different origins to make films. For example, we have a film called Stop Over. It's made by an Iranian. He's Iranian. The topic is Iranian. It concerns people who are stuck in Greece, Iranian immigrants who are stuck in Greece, and they want to move to Europe. So they are hiding their real identity. They are falsifying, passports, and so it's. When we see the film, we could say, oh, this is not a Swiss film. This is about Iran and Iranian and people like that. So this is very important that there is a kind of democracy in their cinema. I mean, they give the speech and they give the opportunity to non-Swiss people to make films, and they finance it. Because because those films, I think, are very important to universal audience, not only Swiss audience. So that's what I
different flavor, I guess, and,
yes,
and different
yes,
way of
yes. Yes, and even there's another film called
Like imagine if Egypt, you know, done something about the African communities and immigrants in Egypt, like
Yes.
Sudanese or Nigerians or
Yes.
something from that sort, because it's a huge
It will be a
community.
scandal in Egypt. How come you're doing films for others? How come you're tackling issues that doesn't
That doesn't
yes,
relate. But again,
doesn't relate to
it's about you know the product itself and how
Yes.
appealing it is to
Yes.
the audience and
Yes, yes.
and the art itself.
yes.
That's true.
And Hannah, in the emerging director section, for the third year, the European Panorama provides usually a platform for the young filmmakers. I know there's a section, and presenting their new, innovative, significant work. And who are the emerging directors that attracted you in this edition this year?
Well, I was attracted. I liked very much the Barbarians.
So he's
it's
a new young director.
Yes, it's his first film actually, and he's a young director. He used to be an actor, and he directs for the first time. He is French, with different origins as usual. He's not Franco-French or real French, but he has the French nationality, and it talks about a journey to Mount Tumor, and it tackles issues about religion. So it was really very interesting. I like that film very much.
All right, cinema critic Hannah Mawi, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
giving us
inviting me.
this,
Thank you.
Great overview of the
And with this we
European
come
Film Festival.
exactly. And with this we come to the end of this edition of Nile Cruise. I'd like to thank you very much, and I'd like to thank Salma. Thank you, Salma.
Thank you very much, Sharif, and it was great working with you today, and we'll be seeing you next week on Thursday. So do stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.